We're covering Colorado First and elevating Black voices on CBS News Colorado. I'm Tori Mason, and I'm excited to bring you this special program celebrating the achievements of extraordinary Coloradans and all that's being done to ensure our Black neighbors are thriving. The Colorado Black Health Resource Directory aims to address health disparities we know persist in our community. The directory brings us here to Every Child Pediatrics in Aurora. As Michaelia White tells us, the directory was born out of an overwhelming demand.
Flipping through these pages, each of these women feels pride and they feel supported. This new resource is helping the Black community work toward health equity.
That's like a wonderful picture.
Dr. Tori Richardson says the idea for the Colorado Black Health Directory first came about in 2010, a response to requests for information about culturally responsive providers.
The community said, you know what we could use? It would be some sort of manual or guide. And we had the traditional doctors, dentists, but also nutritionists, fitness people, dance people. We want to cover the Black diaspora, not just African American, but folks from all over.
According to the state of Colorado, in 2023, just over 4% of our population was Black or African American alone. It's a population that needs these resources.
Because sometimes we feel like we get lost here in Colorado being only a small percentage of the population. Yet our health disparities are at the top or the bottom, as we always say.
Leolt Betalou knows the struggle all too well.
And there are things walking around as a Black individual that every day you have to explain yourself. You have to explain yourself. You have to explain things about your culture, things about how you speak, what you do, the food you eat, like all these nuances, your hair. And I think that the physician-patient relationship is so sacred.
That's why finding Dr. Sophia Maharina as part of the directory was an answered prayer.
Because it is not about being a better physician. It is about being able to connect with your patient in a way that that patient is looking for. Someone who can understand where they're coming from or who they might just be able to trust. It can completely change how they access the system.
Doctor by doctor, the directory works to make these offices more welcoming.
It's very important for people to have somebody with that lived experience. You don't have to explain to me what it means to be Black in America. I already know.
The Black Health Resource Directory is the most comprehensive source of Black health information in Colorado and provides listings for doctors and specialists from Fort Collins to Pueblo. You can find the details on our website. Overcoming concerns about its content and a delayed vote by the school board, a high school teacher persevered to bring AP African American Studies to Douglas County schools. Your reporter in Douglas County, Olivia Young, caught up with her in the classroom.
What's a motif again?
Valerie Moses teaches English at Highlands Ranch High School.
Recurring symbol, idea, image.
Come next school year, she'll have another class to teach.
For AP African American Studies, the idea is that it is a studies course. So it does history, it teaches literature, visual analysis, data analysis.
Moses led efforts to get the new AP course approved in Douglas County.
I had a couple of students come approach me and say that they really, really wanted this course at the school. They had a petition, a list of other students who were really interested in taking it.
Speaking to the school board in favor of the course after some community members raised concerns.
I think some of the concerns were that it was teaching critical race theory, that it's indoctrination. Some of the concerns were that it teaches Marxism or that it teaches like an oppressor-oppressed mentality.
Moses says the course doesn't teach any of those things.
What it does teach is the history, the literature of a culture, the formation of it. That is an incredible thing to celebrate. It can give students a sense of empowerment.
In December, the school board unanimously approved the course. Come fall, Highlands Ranch and Mountain Vista will be the first schools in Douglas County to teach it.
This school in particular, our student population is changing every year and we're becoming increasingly more diverse. I think we do need a space where we can teach this because we don't know what they don't know and students don't know what they don't know.
Moses believes it's critical education for everyone in the predominantly white district.
This is about American history and American culture, and this is an important, huge chapter in American culture, and I don't think you can understand American culture without understanding African American culture.
Still ahead, they're Colorado women who chased their dreams and went on to inspire legions of admirers. A Coloradan who made history in Hollywood and a science teacher turned mayor. But first, how a Denver institution came to be, and the special message a couple of talented bakers have for young girls. Every month, people look forward to reading the Denver Urban Spectrum. For 37 years, the publication has been dedicated to spreading the news about people of color. Now, co-founder and publisher B. Harris is getting ready to pass the torch. Your reporter in Denver, Jasmine Arenas, has the story.
It's hard to imagine Denver without the Urban Spectrum. Rosalind B. Harris recalls designing the first issue in 1987.
Checked with the printer. It's going to cost $1,100 to print the publication. Went out and got $1,102 worth of advertising, and that's how it started. We didn't know what we were doing. I just knew that I could lay it out, and quite frankly, I've been fortunate enough to do that every month for the last 37 years.
If people were talking about it, the Urban Spectrum was documenting it, raising awareness of the AIDS epidemic.
We put condoms in half of the publications. AIDS was running rampant as well, and especially in the Black community.
Putting a face on domestic violence.
It resonated with people, and people needed to hear those stories so that if they were suffering, that they could get help.
Recording the 1993 Summer of Violence, embodied in the story of young Broderick Bell.
He was 6 years old, he peeked up to see if everything was okay, and that's when the bullet hit him, right in his head, right in the middle.
And the impact of giants such as State Representative Wilma Webb and marathoner and philanthropist Essie Garrett.
We have stories. The stories need to be told. The history needs to be recorded.
Evolving to a digital format and video podcasting, B. Harris is handing the reins to editor Ruby Jones.
And she is taking it by storm. She is learning everything that I have learned over the last 37 years in the last several months.
After 4 decades of empowering and lifting others, B. Harris has made her mark, and the Denver Urban Spectrum's loyal readers are thankful.
A couple of Highlands Ranch teenagers are proving you're never too young to build a thriving business. The two sisters started selling their baked goods during the pandemic. Your reporter Olivia Young tells us how Little Sista's Treats is now a big brand with a strong following.
Zaire and Charlize Hawkins want young girls to know you can be your own CEO. It's about having confidence, follow through, and a willingness to work hard.
Anybody can do anything, and even at a young age, people have ideas and things in their head that they don't want to put out to the world. But if you really think about it, they can ask.
Just don't burn down the kitchen, said their mom. The Hawkins girls began baking as little kids, a passion passed along by their great-grandmother, Faye Vaughn, a restaurateur in Hannibal, Missouri.
Some things that I think I've learned doing the business is connecting with customers, making sure everything's good, the packaging, so then when we deliver it, they're happy and everything's perfect.
One of their originals is the cheesecake cone. A branding company helped design a logo for Little Sista's Treats, and the girls wrote their own jingle.
Little sisters, we've got the cones. Whenever you eat them, you've got soul.
Yeah, I always try to encourage my kids with business. And no, you don't make a whole bunch of money in the end. It's a whole bunch of learning along the way.
Don't follow the crowd, say Zaire and Charlize.
I feel like this isn't just a passion of me and my sisters. I feel like it's a dream came true.
There are hopes of owning a food truck and maybe a concession at a major venue. Most important, say the Little Sistas, is having fun.
They understand now that they're an inspiration. I think that's the greatest thing I think their business is giving to the community at this point.
Up next, she unseated an incumbent mayor, made history, and put a small Colorado town on the map. And 60 years after he was selected for astronaut training by President Kennedy, a Denver man finally made it to space. Her political career was unexpected. Ada Bell Evans made history as Colorado's first elected Black mayor. Your Mountain Bureau reporter Spencer Wilson tells us how she served the town of Fair Play, Colorado. Back in April 1974, she won 65 votes, beating the incumbent mayor by 20.
Legend has it the town of Fairplay was given its name to welcome all to this high country valley, where they play fair.
She did not set out to be a politician. She was a science teacher, but she saw some things in the community that she wanted to change.
In 1966, Ada Evans landed a job teaching science at Fairplay's middle and high school. Her husband Ray had been commuting to Fairplay from Denver, working as the town's music teacher. The Evans daughters now live in North Carolina.
And she was really smart. She was a scientist, and she got along very well with people. And that's kind of how she became the mayor, is that she was just very social and she knew everybody.
Fairplay sent Ada Evans to town hall in 1974. As mayor, she spearheaded efforts to get federal matching funds so Fairplay could improve parks and eventually build a rec center. She hated the way the roads ruined her shoes, so she got many of them paved.
She had a heart for rural communities, and she didn't think that people paid enough attention to rural communities.
The Evans family was the only black family in Fairplay.
My experience was good all through high school, from kindergarten to high school.
Ada Evans taught every science class in the middle and high school, and she instilled a passion for learning.
And that's what she taught us, is to always seek to learn.
Evans' impact on Fairplay endures.
And I remember a man telling me, she got us on the map. I think she did a lot for the community. I think people appreciated it afterward.
Mayor Evans went on to become a social worker and eventually retired, joining her daughters out east. Rachel recalls returning to where the family home once stood. It's now a health center.
Actually, I just broke out crying because the whole thing was so beautiful that, for one, all of the trees that our father planted were still there. For the property that they lived on to become a place for people to heal, it was just very, very fitting.
His artwork is known around the country for representing the Black experience, but his early ambitions were in the skies. More than 60 years after President Kennedy selected him for the space program, Ed Dwight finally got his chance to lift off. Former Air Force pilot Ed Dwight was America's first Black candidate for NASA's early astronaut program in 1963.
But the country wasn't ready for it, and that was the problem.
Denied the chance to rise up at NASA, Dwight eventually left the Air Force and turned his talent to business, then to creating thousands of sculptures for Black heroes, including the iconic MLK Memorial at City Park. In May 2024, at the age of 90, Dwight joined a mission into the Earth's atmosphere by Blue Origin, becoming the oldest man to go to space.
And here's a grand opportunity at this late date to fulfill that for self-satisfaction, yes, but more importantly, to satisfy all the wonderful people that have showered me with love for all these years.
Dwight says he was often told he was born too early.
It's more than righting and wrong. It's destiny. In my heart, I feel it was going to happen one way or the other.
More than 60 years later, Dwight's family was there to witness his destiny.
To have it come full circle and to have a successful flight meant everything to me.
Dwight credits his determination to guidance from his mother.
She kept whispering in my ear about how great this country was and how I could be a part of what this country was about. But the whole idea, you had to do something creative on the good side, and make everything better than it was before.
Ed Dwight found another mission as an artist, and when he finally entered space, his call sign was justice. Stay with us as we share how a globally celebrated actress got her start in Colorado. A performing star featured right here at East High School's Heritage Hall. In 1940, she became the first Black person to ever win an Academy Award. Your Northern Colorado reporter, Dylan Thomas, tells us the story of Hattie McDaniel.
In the heart of Old Town Fort Collins, the historic Armstrong Hotel tells a story of history itself.
Everywhere that she traveled, she's made some kind of a mark.
On this wall of famous Fort Collins residents,
I'm finding out just a plethora of things about her that still boggle my mind.
Kevin John Goff can't help but to admire his great-grand-aunt, Hattie McDaniel.
Hattie was the youngest of 13 siblings.
Before starting, Hattie McDaniel called Denver and Fort Collins home.
That was a decision made by their father, Henry, because he was trying to find a better life, make a better living for the family.
Early photos of Hattie show she was one of the only black children in her entire community. But as she grew up, it wasn't her skin color that made her stand out. It was her talent.
Denver and Fort Collins was like her training ground for entertainment.
While researching Hattie for a book he's writing about her, Goff said he quickly learned she was not only a radio personality, but a performer of all sorts, from acting to the drums. So she headed west.
In the early 1930s, she went to Hollywood, and the rest is history.
She continued to thrive.
Hattie had a show on CBS, and she worked as a domestic. So those roles that she played on TV, she actually knew those in real life. She did that work. But if you look at Hattie's roles, even though she's playing domestics, if you look at her lines and her delivery, she doesn't deliver them in a subservient way. She's confrontational. She's given her energy as an equal. So I think that's what made her stand out.
But in the late 1930s, everything changed.
Finally, the opportunity for Gone with the Wind came, and that was a game changer. Every actor, actress, didn't matter what color you were, wanted to be in that film.
Hattie landed the role of Mammy in the hit film.
She had something in her spirit that just jumped off the screen.
A film she couldn't even attend the premiere of.
Remember, this is the Jim Crow era, and so she couldn't go to the premiere in Atlanta.
But she broke barriers when she became the first black person to ever be invited to the Oscars as a guest.
First black nominee and first winner.
Hattie with Daniel. This is one of the happiest moments of my life, and I shall always hold it as a beacon for anything that I may be able to do in the future. I sincerely hope I shall always be a credit to my race and to the motion picture industry. My heart is too full to tell you just how I feel, and may I say thank you, and God bless you.
Decades later, her family and Fort Collins community continue to recognize her place in history, not just at the Armstrong, but also outside her childhood home, where a plaque reminds people of her story. Goff says Hattie overcame racism before and after stardom and proved how the black community belonged.
Even in your most challenging moments, keep your integrity and don't give up. And that spells her to a T. She's black history, she's American history.
Elevating Black voices is something we're proud to do year-round, celebrating our stories and our contributions. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Tori Mason.